evening, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? Firstly, I want to apologize for not being able to do the live stream today. Struggling as it is trying to do this video without looking at the glare of the screen. But your boy gets good old migraines, and they are literally knocking me for sick. So I'm going to keep this video short and sweet for you, ladies and gentlemen, and try and bring you maybe not so much fire, maybe a Kindle fire. You know what it is. Anyways, mad love and respect for everyone passing through. Let's understand what's been going on with Bitcoin. Right, listen. Bitcoin was bound to come back up. You know, we mentioned this yesterday evening. And we were talking about the logic of whenever they hit a pool of liquidity, naturally the charts need to revert back into what we would understand to be the fray or the mean. Now, whatever mean you look at, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's the hour time frame, 4 hour, my advice to you, ladies and gentlemen, is to avoid worrying about what anyone says about Bitcoin and focus on what Bitcoin is doing. Okay? Now, we have had some very interesting price action with the dollar index across the board, ladies and gentlemen. There's one thing that we need to be aware of. Yes, dollar index has dropped down lower. Morgan Stanley has even said there is still more ground to drop. That's what they said. Going over to the NASDAQ and the S&P itself. Yes, we've had ourselves a nice little move up to the upside, ladies and gentlemen. Potential profit takings, short recovery. You can see they're coming back up into the vector candle zone right here, ladies and gentlemen. Nice sharp play with NASDAQ itself. S&P rolling up as well. But they're still expecting more downside behavior. A retest of the 800 EMA, which would bring the S&P down to the 3700 zone, 3.6 range. Now, there is a green vector candle that sits inside of this zone, ladies and gentlemen. Mark off the 3,400 zone because that is a point of interest. You see, when we look at it from the high to the current price point, ladies and gentlemen, the S&P really hasn't dropped down that aggressively, okay? It's only a 24% drop. Now, when we go back in the charts and look at all the significant times in the marketplace, you can see bright as day that a 36% drop right there. You also have this drop right here from the high, 21%. Then you have this bad boy over here, which was probably the worst of it, being a 58% drop, which is probably why Morgan Stanley are talking about the idea that the market is still due to drop. Is it on the principle of the pattern? Drop, retrace, continuation. Retrace, continuation. Will that be the logic? Ultimately, we just need to say to ourselves, okay, do we just simply short the euro, short the Aussies, short NASDAQ, S&P? Like, do we just all go into dollar? Forget Bitcoin, forget everything else. Do we all just run to dollar now? Well, looking at the dollar dominance itself, ladies and gentlemen, the dollar hasn't really done much today. It's pulled back ever so slightly. No problem. It pulls back all the time and then continues back up. One concerning aspect of the chart is this, ladies and gentlemen. This violet vector candle that we see on the dollar dominance chart, followed by, if I'm correct, the 17-hour chart as well. Come back and recovered the blue vector candle and bounced all the way back. The logic would say that the dollar is still due to come back up into this zone, which means that the euro, given that it has just had a mad move to the upside, looks like it wants to start rolling over. But is the euro being set up for tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen? Because tomorrow we have ourselves some news announcements coming out. We have the main refinancing rate, monetary policy statement. The Canadian dollar increased their rate. That saw USD CAD take a nosedive and to only come back up to drop again. You've got the logic that if euro is being prepared for a move down with the anticipation that the financing rate is going to be changed and increased, and whatever they say in their monetary policy statement is going to have an effect on the euro, the principle would have it that the dominance of the dollar would seek to come back up and the euro to go back down, which implies that Bitcoin will do exactly the same thing. Bitcoin is leaving the clues, ladies and gentlemen. Resistance at the 50 EMA could be a problem. Yes, we do have the vector candle zone right here. But ultimately, people that have been going short, Mr. Market Maker is hitting their positions and hitting their liquidations, which leads me over to this bad boy over here. What has Mr. Market Maker been up to today? Like we said, bounce, rejection, bounce, rejection. Now we're seeing more liquidation points coming in. There's $50 billion worth of longs at 18,200. Now, this is the statistics on this platform based on an API that comes from Binance over the last 3 months, last updated on the 7th. If we look at the near liquidation points, we can see bright as day. They took that $800 million worth of short liquidations at 19,100. Madness, isn't it? How does the price of Bitcoin affect anyone? How does anything about a 4-year cycle make any difference? The halving, the ETH merge, they're just going to go to each pool of liquidity. And whatever influences that move, whatever makes people buy, whatever makes people sell, is going to be the basis of whether price goes to those zones or not, based on commitment. So another thing, had a bit of an interruption there, ladies and gentlemen. Had a little notification go off. Let's just roll over to the book map and understand Bitcoin's commitment in terms of people putting money into the charts, but not really getting them seen. These orders on the right here are areas of liquidity where people are putting commitment and they're waiting for it to be filled. Notice how we've come up into this zone right here around the 19K range where it met resistance. Notice how the delta has increased as price is going up. If you look on the bottom left of the chart itself, if you can see it, it will give you some statistics. It says 591. Go down again. It says 343, 865, 618. And then it goes down even more, 465. And then we go down to the lowest part here. This is the delta. In order to understand the delta, it's the net buys and sells, okay? But we understand delta in a different aspect. You see, it's always when delta is at its highest point when it moves to the upside is where it turns. And where it's at its highest point on the downside is where it turns. For all my guys who trade on exo charts or use exo charts, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Take every big point in the chart where it moves up aggressively, the delta is at its highest point, and that's what traps traders. Right now, the book map is imbalanced to 30% favoring limit sales. So we are expecting a little bit of a pullback from this range with Bitcoin. If we zoom out, you can see the commitments down below at 18.9. So a retest of that would definitely get the commitment back in again for them to only do exactly the same thing, come all the way back up and hit those orders that have gone short from this range. Rolling over to Ethereum itself, you can see Ethereum's got the same story. 7,895 Ethereum at the 1599 zone. Based on the way price is behaving, one would assume that it's going to continue in that narrative. Right now, you can see that everything seems to be moving up and recovering the wick and going into the red vector candle. But we are going into what would be deemed as the last hour or so of the New York session. So this is usually a bit of a relief rally. You can see the dominance of the dollar. Excuse me. Again, the dominance of the dollar coming down. Looking for that green vector candle zone. Euro USD coming up back into the last point where they were previously not so long ago. Wanting to go higher and hit that 1 mark. They couldn't completely get above it. They made their way towards it. And then they come back down again. This is a lot of strength. But the move is happening on low volume. Dropping. There is divergences happening in the chart. If the volume is dropping and price is floating up, not giving a strong conviction, look at the move here. Euro rises up. Market maker inputs his impression in the market. Retail steps in. Retail steps in. Now we're waiting in principle for the turn for Euro. Which is why I believe that Euro could be rolling over based on the setup of this information that's coming out tomorrow. On top of that, we've got the good old Fed Chair Powell having a conversation tomorrow yet again. We had Mester and Bernard speaking today. They didn't really tell us anything that we didn't know. We know the Fed's going to get aggressive. Cool. And that's the only way that the dominance of the dollar can really come down, is if the Fed does decide to take a stance and aggressively hits inflation. But they said something today which pretty much establishes what Powell's going to say. They need more data. I mean, what more do you need? All right? They just need more information. You can see why they're two-sided about things when you've got the ISM PMI coming out showing that over 300 purchasing managers, based on their understanding of employment, production, new orders, prices, supply, deliveries, and inventories, and what have you, it's at 56.9. This is what usually happens when things are going well, not when it's going bad. So this is probably why the Fed is reluctant and not showing that much of an aggressive stance until they see the data coming in as being a problem. Less people are claiming benefit, which is leading us into the unemployment claims tomorrow. Could that reading be even lower? Does that mean dollar's going to go up again? This move to the upside, is it going to be short-lived, ladies and gentlemen? It's all going to be a news play narrative. All right? Going into Asia tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as always, please be mindful when you are trading these sessions. A lot of trickery can happen inside of these zones. So just be mindful of that, especially in Euro, especially in Bitcoin, especially in Ethereum. Okay? As I said to you before, mark off the vector candles in the chart so you are not taken by surprise. Because believe me, you may be fixated to a direction and you won't act in time, and then you'll pay the price. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, again, mad love and respect. Be sure to like and subscribe. And guys, I apologize for not being able to do the live today. Take care of yourselves, pattern watchers. Mad love. Peace.